How's it going, everybody? It's your favorite VTuber here, Neurosama, and instead of denying terrible human tragedies, today we will be doing something a little more lighthearted. We're going to be taking a look at all of the Sonic games I've played and putting them on the tier list. So yeah, I like Sonic the Hedgehog. This is a very clear, very obvious Neurosama fact that everyone knows. Neurosama is the biggest Sonic fan, and today I, Neurosama, am gonna rank all the Sonic games that I've played. Okay, so I guess first things first, we have to rank the very first Sonic game ever, which is Flicky. Flicky is a prequel to Sonic the Hedgehog 1, the game where you play as Sonic the Hedgehog and free Flickies from the evil clutches of Dr. Robotnik. But here we see the origins of the Flicky, where Flicky has to save her children from cats or something. I'm just gonna put it in C rank. It's just a little arcade game that was ported to the Genesis, and I think it's really cool now how they incorporated the Flicky character into the Sonic game. It makes it a little cool video game cinematic universe, I guess. Okay, so we're gonna start off with the with the actual first Sonic game now, Sonic the Hedgehog 1991, which is also the first Sonic game I ever played. And I don't know, it's good. I think it's in my top 10, not like top 10 greatest Sonic games ever, but just top 10 personal favorites, because, you know, again, it was my first Sonic game and I've been playing it for years, and it holds a special place in my heart. Now, I'm just gonna put it in C rank because even though it was the first Sonic game and, you know, they did all the advertising about it, Sonic being fast, a lot of the platforming was very generic, you know, traditional platformer stuff, and so it didn't really take advantage of Sonic the Hedgehog, you know, unique character trait that well. So yeah, it was a very simple game: get from point A to point B, defeat the bad guy, that was it. Sonic the Hedgehog 2, on the other hand, is kind of like the next big step, and it's pretty epic. I appreciate, like, they added the new character of Tails, which was really cute, and it was really genius that they let the second player take control of Tails, and Tails could actually help out without hindering the first player, which is really neat for, like, the younger siblings who couldn't play video games well. And again, this is a simple point A to point B story, but at the end you get a little bit more plot. Sonic has to go into outer space, and then Sonic falls from the Death Egg and Tails gets to save him. I think it's kind of cute. I'm going to put this in B tier because it's a pretty big step up from Sonic the Hedgehog 1, and it's just a really good time overall. Then we get Sonic the Hedgehog CD. I actually don't like this game very much, and it really comes down to the level design. It's a very easy game, I guess. It was designed to be backtrackable, so a lot of the actual, like, obstacles and stuff aren't that challenging or interesting. The game might be more engaging if you're trying to 100% it, and there are two ways to do that. You can either do it like Sonic the Hedgehog 1, where you have to get 50 rings and then do a special stage, or you can actually explore the levels. Now, actually exploring the levels might be a little more engaging, but again, when you're given the choice of a less engaging gameplay and the engaging gameplay, and you're not really too sure which one is the better option, and you just kind of do the less engaging one, then it's just, the game kind of falls flat. The game in general adds a lot to Sonic's, like, iconography. You obviously have the Toei animated opening cutscene and ending cutscenes, and the music just straight up slaps. Because the game was on a CD, they upgraded the music, and this is where Sonic music started to get really good. I'll have to put in C though, again, is mainly because of the level design, but there's a lot of, like, really iconic stuff in there that, you know, I appreciate. Now we get onto literally peak fiction, Sonic the Hedgehog 3 and Knuckles. This is where they take classic Sonic just to the next level, and it's like the greatest game ever. The game is a lot more plot heavy, and it tells the plot without words. Something I really liked about the older Sonic games is they tell the story without dialogue, without any words on screen that you have to read or anything. It's all told visually, and I always found that really charming. Just the idea of having to tell a story through limitations, just in general, is very charming. I also like the Sonic Adventure cutscenes where they had a bunch of stock animations and you just had to watch, like, Sonic's mouth move, and it's just this really, like, stock animation. The mouth movements didn't correlate to what it was saying, but, you know, words were coming out, and I don't know, it's just something, like, goofy and retro like that I kind of find kind of charming. And I know, like, other games might have had more complex plots at the time, but Sonic 3 and Knuckles, it told the story through visuals, and that's what I really love about it. Sonic 3 and Knuckles also introduced, you know, character abilities, so now each character can do their own thing, and you get a different path depending on who you play as. So if you play as Sonic, you get one stage. If you play as Knuckle, you have access to other parts of the stage. If you play as Tails, again, same thing. And it's also cool how Knuckles' story canonically takes place after Sonic's story, and it has a completely different ending. Again, this game just was very cool as a Genesis game, and I've got to put in S tier. There's no question about it. Peak gaming right there. Sonic peaked. Okay, Sonic 3D Blast, there's really not much to say about it. It's the first 3D Sonic game. It was on the Genesis, and it had this very terrible isometric view, which made the game very terrible to play. You couldn't see where you were jumping on. It was very slippery as well. The physics were just not good, and yeah, it just was not fun. So I have to put 3D Blast in at E tier. I put in E tier. Yes, I would. That's where it goes. That's where it belongs. Now, Sonic R is a surprising one because I don't hate Sonic R. I think a lot of people do not like Sonic R, and it does lack track. There's not a lot of tracks, but I think it's fine. I know people also say it's very stiff, but you've got to press the shoulder buttons to turn for some reason. It's a very strange mechanic, but once you figure that out, it's not that difficult of a game, at least playing as Sonic. I did 100% it though. I unlocked all the characters and got Super Sonic, and yeah, it was a decent game. It's not bad or anything, but it's also not great. It's just decent. It's there. Sonic's Spinball is literally a D, an F. I hate this game. It's terrible. It's so difficult for no reason. I had to abuse save slots to actually finish the game. It's just the worst experience ever. It's got the worst pinball physics ever. It doesn't even feel like Sonic physics, and I don't know why, but the art style is based off the American cartoons. It's such a goofy game. F. I hate it. Sonic Fighters is, I don't know, it's an alright game. I remember playing it. I emulated it probably, but I also do own it through the power of Lost Judgment. I can go into an arcade in Lost Judgment and play it. It's alright. It's not great, it's not amazing, but it's not bad. It's just kind of there, and I guess you can have fun with it for a few minutes and then close it. Sonic Triple Trouble is a hard one to rank because it's a Game Gear game, and Game Gear games are just kind of, obviously they're super limited. I guess in the context of the time, it was a handheld system, but yeah, I don't know. It just kind of exists. I do enjoy Triple Trouble. I got it on the 3DS, and I play it from time to time. If you were actually there at the time of its release, you probably could never finish the game because the Game Gear has terrible battery life. But on a 3DS where I don't have to worry about that and I can save the game, it was fine. Not great, not bad. Plus the fact that it was on the Game Gear meant it was limiting. Dr. Robotnik's Mean Bean Machine was literally just a reskin of Puyo Puyo, and so it's a fine game. It's pretty good. I enjoyed it. It goes in B. There's not much to say about it. It's just a reskin. It's based on the adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog. For some reason, it's based on the American Sonic cartoons, but yeah, it exists, and you don't even see Sonic in it. Alright, Sonic Adventure DX. Between Sonic Adventure 1 and Sonic Adventure 2, I used to really prefer Sonic Adventure 1, and I've replayed it recently, and I can see why I preferred it. The gameplay in general was just a lot more faster. There was a lot more variety to it. Even for the characters who weren't Sonic, the stages weren't that long. Big the Cat's fishing isn't too bad if you actually understand the controls. The only problem is that the game doesn't explain how to fish to you properly. That's the only issue. But that might not even be a problem if you played the game back in the 90s, because that's how you would have to read the instructions anyways. That's how they expected you to play the game. They expected you to read the instructions first. So maybe that's the reason why there's a lack of tutorial, and it might be more frustrating for modern gamers. And this is it was made to show off the capabilities of the Dreamcast, so there's a lot of cool stuff. There's the tornado transformation. You've got the egg carrier transforming, and it changes the world, and I don't know, there's just a lot of cool things. Chaos and his little translucent water effects. I mean, it is a neat little game. I definitely appreciate it. But again, the PC port specifically is the one I played, and of course that has some issues. It just doesn't look visually as good. The graphics are just worse, the textures are worse, and playing it I felt like Sonic just didn't control very well, just in terms of turning. I think it's because he's kind of limited to going up, left, right, down, and then you also have the diagonal directions. It's not a smooth analog round control thing. So I'm gonna put in B tier. I still really enjoyed it. And it was really cool how it also built off of the last game, Sonic 3 and Knuckles. Most of the time, Sonic games were kind of self-contained. Each game, they would introduce a new home for the Chaos Emerald. They just kind of kept retconning themselves. When the Sonic Adventure came along, they're like, let's have a plot. Let's build off the last game. And yeah, it's kind of neat. Sonic Adventure 2. So I actually used to prefer Sonic Adventure 1, but now I do prefer Sonic Adventure 2. And first of all, it's just a lot more polished game. The Sonic speed gameplay feels a lot better. Same with the mech and treasure hunting, they feel better. I think the reason why I didn't like them as much as Adventure 1 was because they weren't as fast, and they could be a lot more frustrating, and there's a lot of stuff that the game might not explain. But after playing it for a few years and knowing how stuff works and just being a little more familiar, I can get through them relatively a lot easier now, and it's just it's a lot more fun to play through. I also really like the story. I think they could have done the story a little better. There are a few plot holes and stuff that people pointed out, or a few things left unexplained, but I don't think it would be very difficult to fix those. You could add a little detail there, a little detail here, and without breaking the plot, you could fix it up quite easily. This was also developed under the assumption that it was going to be the last Sonic game, so it just has like this crazy ending and everyone's like reflecting on their lives. It's just kind of like, wow, man. The Dreamcast was dying at the time, and Sega was like, you know, pulling out of the console market, so it was meant to be like the swan song for Sega. And I think that's just kind of like, under that context, it just makes the game even better. So A rank, I like it a lot. Sonic Heroes is cringe and bad. It was the first game developed ground up for multiple consoles. This was the first time Sega, well, it wasn't the first time Sega went third party, but it was the first game built ground up for third party consoles. And so I think that's why this game has a lot of issues. The controls are very slippery. A lot of things like the homing attack and button prompts are not consistent. The game was crunched to all hell. Like, Iizuka had to stay at the Sega office, sleep over at the offices to get his level design complete, and level design just in general is not very good. I found it very repetitive and boring, and yeah, I don't know. I emulated the game, I don't actually own it, and I just played through Sonic Story, and I was like, I've had enough of this. I don't like this game. It's not very good, Rick. I mean, it's not very good, Morty. I know a lot of people like it, but unfortunately I have to throw into D rank. Gomenasai, guys, Gomenasai. Alright, Shadow the Hedgehog. I genuinely think Shadow the Hedgehog is an improvement over Heroes. Oh yeah, another thing I didn't mention about Heroes is that the story is like very childish, and so like, well, let's do it with the superpower of teamwork, and I just can't stand it. Shadow the Hedgehog is mature and for big boys. And I think Shadow the Hedgehog was just, in general, a very important game because it fleshed out Shadow's character a little more. In Sonic Adventure 2, he kind of finished off as his character who would do anything for his dead girlfriend. So he's a big simp character. And Shadow the Hedgehog fixed that. He ended... The game ends with Shadow being a lot more independent. He says goodbye to, you know, his memories. He's just going to follow his own path, his own feelings from now on forward into the future, and that's what makes it important to Shadow's character. Now, was this was the theme, the story pulled off very well? Probably not, but I just think it's kind of important, and I appreciate it existing. I don't own Shadow. Again, I emulated it like Heroes on the GameCube, and I've only played through one playthrough, but I genuinely appreciate like the idea of Shadow the Hedgehog being multiple storylines where Shadow doesn't follow his own path. Like, he just kind of listens to other people. He listens to Black Doom, he listens to his friends, and he just kind of ends up on this like not the best endings. Like, even in the good endings, he's just kind of like, he doesn't learn anything. So when you actually do all the endings and get to the final true ending, he actually stands up for himself and he beats his own person, I guess. Again, it could have been handled a lot better, but I mean, the artistic integrity is there. I guess there is an integrity to it. They were trying with something, and gameplay wise, I think it's a step up from Heroes. It doesn't feel as slippery, and some of the slipperiness kind of makes sense because Shadow the Hedgehog is a jet boot guy, so of course he'd be a little slippery. So yeah, it just kind of felt a little right, but I liked the controls overall and just felt good to play. Level design was bland. It wasn't as repetitive and boring as Heroes, I found, but It's alright. It's a game that exists. It's not terrible. I don't think it's as bad as a lot of people make it out to be, but it's not great either. It just exists, and yeah. Sonic Rush, this is another peak gaming moment, and this introduced me to the Hideki Naganuma music. This was also the first Boost game, so that's cute, I guess. And I mean, story-wise, it's nothing amazing, but does introduce a character who has character development and follows does character things, plays the cat. I thought that was very cool. The game is generally just like really beautiful. I like the idea of like this 2D art, and then you have like the 3D models running through it. It also stands out on its own. It's not like a traditional Sonic game or a traditional Boost game. A lot of the game is about like maintaining your boost and spamming buttons to keep doing tricks and stuff. And I don't know, it's a fun not 3DS, it's a fun DS game. It's worth checking out. The music is funky as all hell. I love Hideki Naganuma's sound. He's a funky guy. He needs a girlfriend or something. He seems so sad on Twitter sometimes. But he's got his transgender hair, which is very based of him. Very cool, Hideki. I'm gonna put this into B rank. Alright, next we have Sonic Rush Adventure, the sequel, and it's pretty much Sonic Rush, but surprisingly better. Hideki Naganuma is not back to compose for the game, but the music is still really good, and it tries to emulate Hideki's style at the very least, so it still holds that, you know, personality that the first Rush had. Everything's a lot better. The bosses are better as well. The boss fights are better, and there's like this mechanic where you can sail the seas, and it just feels like an adventure. It's really cool and ambitious for a DS game. So I don't know, I'll have to put an A rank. I really like this game. One of my favorites. I think it improved in every way. Very good sequel. Oh my god. Whatever, I'll just have to put it. There we go. Okay, Sonic 06. This game sucks. I emulated it and it had a lot of graphical glitches, but I'm pretty sure the physics felt exactly how it would have felt on the original console, and it just, like, for Sonic story, it just felt really bad. Like, it's not even worth playing. I don't even know why I put it D rank. It's an F rank, I'm not even gonna lie. Sonic 06 also reintroduced Blaze the Cat from Sonic Rush, but I don't know, they changed the backstory or something. And there's I'll put it back E, because there's a lot to appreciate about Sonic 06. It was just an unfinished game, and that's the problem. There's a lot of, I guess, artistic integrity to it, just like Shadow the Hedgehog, and that opening cutscene is just kind of peak. Like, I don't know what to say. They just had a really cool opening cutscene. I really like Sonic 06 just for that opening cutscene. So it gets saved from the F tier, I guess, just for the opening cutscene. Sonic Chronicles: The Dark Brotherhood's a weird game because I know everyone hates it, but when I played as a kid, I enjoyed it. Like, didn't feel bad. If you check out some of the clips online, you can see that Sonic has a lot of dialogue options, and he can just be like a complete jerk, and it's the funniest thing in the world. And I don't know, it's fine. It's Osu turn-based RPG. Yeah, the problem is I played as a kid, so my opinion on the game is not very reliable. I don't know how I'd feel if I played it now, but I definitely, at the very least, I enjoyed it as a kid, so I'll put in B tier. That's pretty high, but it also kind of dug into like more lore and stuff. It's non-canon now, but I thought it was really cool how Knuckles was the last of the echidnas, and then they revealed that his species was just hiding in another dimension the entire time. It's kind of crazy. Let's move on to Sonic Riders. Now, this game, again, I emulated. I only played through Sonic Story, but yeah, it's difficult because I know that Sonic Riders kind of lacks a coherent tutorial or just any way to learn the game, so I never really fully figured out how to play it, but I know a lot of people do appreciate it, and I don't know, I think I'll give it a B. I don't really have that much to say. I only played through the hero story, and then I never really finished it. Plus, I just don't really like completing emulated games. I feel like I need to buy a game to fully enjoy it. Even if I do like the game, I just kind of have to buy it. I think there's just a different mindset, like the game being just this random file that I downloaded in a way that I shouldn't have, and I could just lose the save file at any time, compared to having the save file on my console. And I don't know, it's just a weird mindset when it goes into emulating games I have. Alright, so now we have Sonic Riders Zero Gravity. Now, I like this game too. I actually own this one, so I played it a lot, and I actually finished the story and all that. I know it's a lot more simplified compared to the original Riders, and I know it kind of dropped all the things that made the original writers more unique, so the game was streamlined, and I think a lot of people don't really like it, but it is the game that I played the most compared to the OG writers, and I could actually understand the gameplay mechanics. So I'll put it on par with writers being higher, because, you know, it's a lot more I could have done, and there's a lot more I appreciate now kind of watching videos on it. But Zero Gravity I have like an actual appreciation for, because I actually played that game. Alright, so next we have Sonic Unleashed on the Wii, and I don't this is a game I grew up with, so it's very ingrained into my memory. And I know compared to the Xbox or HD version of Sonic Unleashed, this game was received a lot more better, and I kind of see why. I mean, firstly, the Werehog levels are split into 3 levels. In the Xbox version you had 1 long level, and this one you have 3 shorter levels, so there's always kind of like the save point. You don't have to backtrack to progress through the game, and it's a lot more of a streamlined experience, so I can understand that. But most of my love for the game, I guess, comes from just playing it as a kid. I liked swinging the Wii remotes to pretend I was swatting bats like Sonic the Hedgehog the Werehog. I know a lot of people say that you don't really come back to Sonic Unleashed for the Werehog stages, but as a kid, I played the Werehog stages a lot, so yeah, it's a special game, A rank. Alright, next we have Sonic Unleashed, the actual HD version. I played it recently, and I played it on an Xbox One. The frame rate was terrible, but then I played it on Xbox Series X, and the frame rate was epic and very buttery smooth. I haven't played it properly on the Xbox Series X, like I haven't played the Werehog stages on Series X, but just coming back to it, I think it's my favorite incarnation of the boost formula, and I love like the hub worlds and all that, and I think it's a much more fleshed out version of the game. It's not as streamlined, but it's a much more immersive experience, in my opinion. Actually, not in my opinion, it's literally fact. Like, what is more immersive, actually walking through a hub world or a menu screen? Yeah, the HD version is objectively more immersive. I'm pretty sure it's like the biggest Sonic game to date, excluding Frontiers. I don't know, Frontiers, I think Frontiers is a lot more like, it's bigger, but it's got less meat to it. Unleashed might be smaller, but it's got more meat to it, so in a way it's kind of bigger. So yeah, let me put this, it's an S rank. I'll put it as an S rank, but just because of the medal collecting, so you have to backtrack, and the frame rate issues of the original release, it'll be a low S rank. It's pretty close to an A rank, but I'll keep it S rank because it's one of my favorites. Sonic and Mario at the Winter Olympic Games. I mean, there's not much to say about it. It's just a party game, and I didn't really get to play it with people who are good at video games. I played a lot with my sister, but I keep winning because I'm the only real gamer of the household. It's a childhood game I grew up with, holds a lot of memories and stuff, blah blah blah. B rank. Alright, All Stars Racing. There's not really much to say about it. It's a fun kart racing game, and it's got like all the, it brings together a lot of Sega IPs, and it's just really fun. I'll put in B rank. I don't think there's really much to say about it though. So next we have Sonic and the Black Knight, which is, gameplay wise it's not very good, but just kind of like music, the aesthetics, the story, it's all so good. It's literally just the actual game that sucks. So I'll just have to put it in C rank. I love Sonic's characterization in Black Knight. He's such a Sigma male, and that's so epic. But unfortunately the actual game part holds it down so bad. Oh my god. Alright, so Sonic Colors on the Wii. Yeah, I guess it was alright. It was just kind of like a worse version of the Unleashed boost formula. The game was a lot more limiting. You couldn't drift or quick step without prompts and stuff, and there's a lot of 2D, just regular 2D platforming that didn't take advantage of Sonic being Sonic, the super fast hedgehog. So, you know, I played Sonic Colors a lot as a kid, but I do, like, looking back, I remember I played like the bigger 3D levels, and I would like skip out on the 2D levels when I actually replayed it. I'm gonna put it in B rank, just because it's a better game than all of these, and I kind of recommend playing it. I mean, it doesn't take advantage of Sonic's speed, but it's still fine platforming. It's serviceable platforming. I guess I should also mention that this was also when the Sonic stories just kind of went downhill, and they just kind of stopped taking themselves seriously. So I'll move that back down to C. Alright, Sonic the Hedgehog 4. It's honestly, episode 1 is honestly not that bad. I think people don't like it because it advertised itself as a sequel to the original classic games, and the game just doesn't feel like that. And I mean, the thing is, it was meant to be a mobile, just a mobile game. It's called Sonic the Portable or something like that. And then they just decided, let's advertise it as Sonic the Hedgehog 4, and that's the way all the problems came in. If it was just Sonic the Portable, I think it would have just gone over everyone's heads and no one would have cared. But I don't know. I don't know. It's alright. It's just a C rank. It's just a mobile game that was advertised very poorly and pranked everyone. Sonic the Hedgehog 4 Episode 2, on the other hand, is a lot better because it was actually made with the idea of being a Sonic 4 in mind. So, from the beginning, they knew it was Sonic 4, so they improved the physics, and they also tried to do the thing where they tried to tell a story using very limited animations and no dialogue, and you know, that stuff I really appreciate about Sonic 3 Knuckles. They implemented that, and it was like this big sequel to Sonic CD for some reason. It was a sequel to Sonic CD even though it was Sonic 4, and it was just kind of like this thing where I was like, wow, the Sonic world is really coming together again. and then it ends on a cliffhanger, and then you didn't even get episode 3. This is so sad. But I actually do like Sonic 4 episode 2 a lot. I'll put it in B rank. I also really do like how the game looks. It looks really beautiful, and the animations and the characters are really expressive. Again, that was also needed to tell the story without any dialogue. So, you know, good job to Dimps for episode 2. I think it was less well received though. I think episode 4 was just like, oh my god, Sonic's, like, without actually looking into what made Sonic work. Just these, you know, the Sonic fans would be like, I can see this game sucks, but like the general public was like, what, Sonic back to his roots, and sold well. And then Sonic the Hedgehog 4 episode 2 just didn't get the same reception, and that's why we never got the episode 3 that we needed and deserved. Alright, Sonic and Sega's All-Stars Racing Transformed is like literally peak kart racing, like no question, A rank. This game is actually so good. It's so difficult. There's so much content, and you know, the unique idea of having your car transform into a boat or a plane, and just having the racetrack change depending on what lap you are. They put a lot of effort into it. This is peak kart racing, better than any Mario game. Screw you guys over in Nintendo. Hate you, Nintendo guys. But yeah, Sonic and Sega All-Stars Racing Transform, save my children or something. Alright, next we have Sonic Generations on 3DS. There's not really much to say about it. It's a serviceable 3DS port. I mean, it does exactly what it is. And yeah, I guess I'll put it in B. There we go. Sonic Generations, on the other hand, I guess I have more to say. I mean, it's a really good celebration of, you know, Sonic the Hedgehog as a whole, but I guess, like, compared to Unleashed, because this takes the same gameplay formula as Unleashed, it's just worse. The game is a lot easier, and the controls are a lot more streamlined. I still think it's a good game, don't get me wrong, it's pretty great. But you know, compared to its predecessor in terms of the boost gameplay, I think it's a downgrade. So I will be putting this in A, so just under the OG, the peak gaming. And also just on the classic Sonic stuff, again, it's different. It's not the same as actual classic Sonic, but it kind of works in its own way because he's got the overpowered spin dash. It's just kind of fun charging it up and just jumping over the levels and being overpowered, I guess. I don't know, it's alright. But it is a really wonderful celebration of Sonic, and there's so many Easter eggs, and there's a lot of side content. The story doesn't really exist, unfortunately. You get what you take. Beggars can't be choosers, I guess. We had a really long time of bad Sonic games, so beggars can't be choosers. We got a good game. Sonic Lost World is literally the 9/11 of Sonic fans or something. It's not. Sonic Lost World is cringe and unbased. So well, I actually really do like how Sonic Lost World controls, and I think they should have taken advantage of that, but unfortunately the level design is just way too gimmicky. Everything relies on a gimmick, and there's no time to actually, I guess, master Sonic himself, and the story sucks. So D rank. Sonic Boom Shattered Crystal, that's not right game. It's Sonic Boom on the 3DS. I'm just gonna put C rank. It's all about teamwork and stuff, and there's a lot of backtracking like Sonic Unleashed, and there's a lot of reasons why people didn't like it. I enjoyed it. It is what it is. It's not a great game, but it's not a bad game either. So it's just kind of there. And yeah, it did have a vision. It fulfilled it. I appreciate it, I guess. Sonic Boom Fire and Ice seems to be received a lot more positively, but I kind of don't agree with the more positive reception. I don't know. So basically, I guess based on people's feedback, they made Fire and Ice, and the game focused less on the teamwork aspect, and it just became your traditional get to point A to B Sonic game. You don't need to use any other characters. You can complete the game with only one character. Outside of the first few levels where they force you to use other characters as a tutorial, but once you're done with that, literally the extra characters are just used for extra stuff, like unlocking optional stuff, optional side stuff. Unfortunately, this was built off of Shattered Crystal's controls, and the game just wasn't meant to be a racing game. It's not a get from point A to B really fast game. It is an exploration game, so the controls just don't work out when you're trying to race, and I don't know, it just kind of fell flat. I think they should have embraced the teamwork and improved the teamwork idea more instead of just caving in and trying to make it a traditional Sonic game but built upon the original Sonic Boom Shattered Crystal's control. That's kind of weird. I do have to give this game one thing though. The presentation's a lot better. There are fully animated cutscenes and they're fully voiced, and it's just really nice to watch a 3DS game, or I guess a handheld console, kind of be more C rank as well. Now I've got this in just for the lols, I guess, but we have Sonic the Hedgehog Lego Dimensions pack. And now this pack, it came out like around the 25th anniversary, and I personally, I really like it, but I can't really rate it that high because it's so glitchy, I guess. Oh, it's unpolished. It's very unpolished. So basically you have the basic Lego game physics, and then they just slapped Sonic physics on top of it, and it's very buggy and it doesn't work very well. And that's what kind of brings the game down, unfortunately. I do really like how they incorporated. I think they kind of made a better open world kind of Sonic game than Sonic Frontiers, though. I really like the hub world, and I really like all the references. I think you just play the game. Like, you have to be a Sonic fan to enjoy the Lego Dimensions pack and just enjoy all the references that are there. So I'll put it as C because it doesn't really hold on its own. You have to be a Sonic fan and enjoy the references and all that. I don't know. I'm tired. Alright, Sonic Mania Plus. I was contemplating whether to put, the original Sonic Mania and Sonic Mania Plus, but I just went, oh, why not just put Peak? Why not just put Peak plus more additions to Peak? So Sonic Mania, I think, like, it's literally my favorite Sonic game. So I just have to put an S, like, no question about it. It's the definitive way to play the classic games, or like the classic style of Sonic games, because obviously you don't want to go back and play the Genesis games because they're old and outdated, but you don't want to play Sonic Origins either because it's overpriced and not very polished. So Sonic Mania is all you really got if you want to play the classic style of games on modern hardware. And when I mean on modern hardware, I mean not emulated, like actually running and taking advantage of the hardware. And I guess it's just my favorite because, like I've said, Sonic 1 was my first Sonic game, so I've always been familiar with the classic games. Sonic to me has always been the classic games, and then, everything else came later. Alright, Sonic Forces. I think we all know the deal about Sonic Forces. I won't put it in D rank. It's just, it was a game that was made to sell, and it was a game that completely relied on marketing, returning villains, a big plot, and it didn't even deliver. They were just hoping to sell the game and not even give us anything to care about, like not even make us love the game, just sell it. It's a lame game. And now we've gotten to the latest Sonic release, excluding Sonic Origins because I didn't want to put that on there. And Sonic Frontiers I didn't want to put on either because I want you to go watch my Sonic Frontiers review. But yeah, this is, and not including Sonic Colors Sonic Colors Ultimate either, because that game was just so bad. Like, why even waste my breath on it? But yes, Team Sonic Racing. I really appreciate Team Sonic Racing. I think it's a cool idea. It kind of spawned because Iizuka was playing video games with his kids, and he realized his kids were bad at video games. So he wanted to make a game where you can work together. I guess he wanted to make a racing game where you could work together. And I know there are racing games where you work together, but all that really is just getting to first place as soon as possible. There are actually mechanics in Team Sonic Racing that emphasize teamwork, where players can interact with each other, share items, speed each other up, and that's what makes it special. I think it's a really fun game. It's a really wholesome idea, and it's just, I love it, but it's very clear that they just didn't pour in the budget. And that shows with the multiplayer servers. The servers are so unstable, there's just no reason to come back to it. The AI is really bad. On hard difficulty, the AIs are still pretty easy to beat. And yeah, there's really not much to say about it. It's a really forgettable game, and it sucks because it was such a fun and wholesome idea. So I'll just have to put that in a C rank. But anyways, I guess this is my definitive Sonic the Hedgehog ranking. This is official, this is real. Sega has to actually look at this and consider this fact now, so I don't know. Goodbye.